Welcome back to Switched to Linux. Well, today we're going to ask this fun, fundamental question. Are you going to switch to Windows 11? What? Why would I switch to Windows 11, one might ask? Well, in just a couple of days, January 31st, Microsoft is going to stop selling Windows 10 keys. Now, Windows 10 and Windows 11 product keys have been interchangeable at this point in time. We don't know for sure if this means no one will be able to get a Windows 11 key and use Windows 10, so they are talking about there are some workarounds to it. Of course, why would one want to use Windows 10 is another fun question. But what they say here is, according to, Microsoft will stop selling downloadable licenses for Windows 10 on its website January 31st, according to a message on the product pages. Now, you can still, of course, probably get them from stores like Best Buy. However, with how in bed Best Buy is with Microsoft, it would not surprise me if on that day Best Buy is told by Microsoft to pull all of the Windows 10 ones. Of course, they would comply because they'll probably get one-to-one credit with Windows 11. But what they're saying here is, according to the messages on the product pages for Windows 10 Home and Pro, although Windows 10 will continue to be supported with new security updates until at least October of 2025. Microsoft is pushing anyone buying or building a new PC into the newer Windows 11 instead. Now, I, of course, switched to Linux full-time because of the abomination that is Windows 10. And somehow, Microsoft was able to make it worse. I kind of dodged a bullet on that one. I have never used Windows 10 in a full production system. I've booted into it a couple of times for some required uses, whatnot, but nothing overall that couldn't have been done in other ways. But that being said, Windows 11 is so far worse, and the question for you all is, are you going to be carried on down the pipeline, or are you going to start looking at some of these other alternatives? So they say other retail sites will presumably keep selling the physical and digital copies of Windows 10 for a little while, but even if all the Windows 10 sales went away at the end of the month, people who really wanted it should still be able to get it. There will be ways. I think a lot of these bigger stores, as I said, my prediction is they'll probably pull them because they'll get one-to-one credit from Microsoft. Microsoft isn't out more than a few cents here and there, and it's their way to push it on. Of course, Windows 7 and Windows 8, both of those are completely out of any form of security maintenance, so they are both considered completely, like, don't put these computers on the internet, not safe to do so. And then the question becomes, what is it that we want to do? Are you going to jump on over to Windows 11 or not? For people buying new PCs who simply don't want to use Windows 11 for some reason, Windows 10 and 11 have so far been interchangeable, so you could have downloaded Windows 10, installed it with the same product key, but of course that probably isn't going to continue working for very long. Now, I wanted to pull out a few articles for why you might not want to switch to Windows 11. The first one that I found is there's entire articles here and third-party software to take back your Windows 11 privacy, which, by the way, if you become scorched earth, turn off every privacy setting, Microsoft still pulls in a lot more information about you than you may even be aware. And this was the same on Windows 10 as well. So did you know that Windows 11 is tracking your data? I hope you have known that, but in the event you haven't known that, we're going to walk through what it takes to actually turn this stuff off. So here's how to take it back. They've had the opportunity. It stands a lot of great areas with Windows 11. Now, what are they doing with their data? Well, one thing is they are actually using data to create profiles on you. They're selling these to advertisers, and in my opinion, they're using these for other fairly unscrupulous things as well. In fact, what they even say down here According to the privacy statement, the company says some of the data is collected through your interactions, use, and experiences with our products, but they also obtain data about you from third parties. So it knows who you are. Maybe you've given it your phone number because it asked. You could have clicked skip, but phone number, enter phone number. And so with that, what ended up happening here is that with your settings, you gave it enough information for it to go out to third parties like, Equihacks or Experian or all these other companies. Maybe it's your credit card companies. We know that all of the major credit card companies give data about users to Facebook and to Google. That has all been out. It's been part of the ad networks. Well, guess what? Microsoft also is working on ad networks. And so it wouldn't surprise me if them and maybe even Apple may get that information as well. So they are obtaining a lot of data from you from third parties to supplement the profile. So as long as you give Microsoft enough information to know who you are through the setup and establishment of that operating system, they are going to find everything else that you don't want them to know. Microsoft says they use personal data to provide users with rich, interactive experiences. This includes using data to personalize products and send targeted advertisers to customers. All right. And so if you do not want to be part of that, and I always mention this, people make it almost sound like in some of these things like that's the worst thing that could possibly be done is that they could grab information and sell it to somebody. No, it's far worse. Like a good half a decade ago, a Facebook executive was arrested for utilizing the information that the company knew about a lady to stalk her. Okay, there are a lot worse things you can do with somebody's private data, and I just don't want to be part of an operating system that by default grabs all this stuff up. Now, some people have made the argument, I heard this, we'll interject it now, that yeah, at least Windows has these toggle controls where you can tell apps what to do. The reason those are in there is because the operating system wants to control that, whereas those options don't even exist in a Linux system for the most part because the applications generally aren't calling for such things, whereas on a Windows device, they may be. Now, there are exceptions. Of course, GNOME is coming in with a really good privacy system where you can toggle those things on a GNOME system, probably some other desktop environments as well. So you do have that type of granular control on Linux as well, but we're going to get into some of that in a bit. Number one is Microsoft Edge, of course, based on Google's Chromium technology. And of course, Google wants you signed into Chrome and in fact set a default that if you logged into any Google service, it automatically logged you into the Chrome browser itself. The reason they're doing this is because they can store a lot more details about what you're doing online without relying on the cookies on your computer. So the cookies used to be how all this tracking was done, but when enough information was raised about it, people would turn off cookies, stop using them, clear them more readily. Well, if you're logged into your browser, you can still store this. Well, Microsoft, they have a very similar setup with a browser with a similar way. And if you're using that Microsoft account, guess what? They're doing the same thing that Google is doing if you are using Chrome and logged into the Chrome browser. So if you decide you want to continue using Edge, you can safeguard information. They have tracking prevention. Now, this tracking prevention has nothing to do with Windows or Microsoft tracking you. This has to do with third parties tracking you. Same settings you'll find inside of Firefox. A company does not have to adhere to this. It's not a law or a standard. It's a recommendation that has never caught on because if it were to catch on, it would cost advertisers who build the backbone of the technological money in our society to collapse. And so obviously that has never really caught on. So tracking prevention is basically meaningless. without doing some other things. They say in the settings, privacy search services, make sure tracking prevention is turned on, and then set the prevention level to balanced or strict. Of course, strict is going to block some things. It's going to block everything, but that might also include things required for the website to work. Why we're still using third-party resources to keep websites working is beyond me, but hey, nearly every one of those cheap online themes that you might buy all connects to their cloud servers to pull stuff in rather than actually storing it on your website itself. You see this in Bootstrap, where a lot of the Bootstrap defaults is going to be fetching Bootstrap from their CDN. Well, no, when I build a website, I actually download that thing and you're hosting your Bootstrap, you know. That way, if they do some change or update, it doesn't break things, or if their CDN goes down, you know, and your site's not, you know, whatever. Of course, they talk here about payment options, location tracking. This is where GNOME, particularly on Linux, is starting to have a similar thing like this. It's going to allow, basically it's going to give you a list of all the applications asking for these, and you can globally turn it on or turn it off. Your cameras, your locations, GPSs, and things like this. Again, though, in Linux, what we find is that because it's so based on open source and packages are so audited, people aren't generally putting those things in. But you do have to make sure you're aware of what's going on in your packages. And master toggle on, toggle off button may or may not do something. Remember, this is a software switch inside of an operating system that has the business model of tracking and supplementing your data. Think about that before you're pondering if all of the toggle buttons in the settings change, especially since at least in Windows 10 in the past, and probably a little bit more in the future, you'd go through, spend an hour toggling all these changes, and then Microsoft would come in and turn them all on after every single update, which, if you're familiar with the Windows computer, happens all the time. But you can see, in theory, you can granularly set individual applications. Then there's the ad tracking. By default, Windows 11 tracks your activities and sends it to the advertising partners who can then show you targeted ads. Your personal information is contained within something called an advertising ID, but this can be turned off if you know where to look. So, of course, going into your settings and then digging into your privacy and security in general, and let apps show me personalized ads using my advertiser ID. Now, they can still show you ads, and they're still going to show you personalized ads based on all the other information. This just prevents them from using the machine ID, from saying, yes, we 100% know this is the same person, rather than we think this is the same person, or hey, at least this is an ad relevant to this. This basically is the same type of thing. If you've ever managed a Google ad campaign, you can get in there and you can clearly identify each individual person from these machine IDs. I know I can tie with some of my accounts where I'm managing Google ads for people, I can actually tie the exact click conversion to a physical address of the person if they purchase our product by clicking a Google ad. Okay. And this is what that allows you to do. Whereas if they have this turned off, we see it's a conversion, but we can't actually tie it that closely. We can still figure out who it is. All right, diagnostics and feedback. So this is where the basic diagnostics is always sent. You have no option to turn this stuff off, which, by the way, according to their privacy policy, the diagnostics is still used for ad tracking. Maybe it's the quality of your PC, so they know you're poor, so they're going to send you, crap that's relevant to stuff that poor people might get, like payday loans or stuff like that. Whereas if you got the biggest top of the line, they might send you ads for expensive stuff like, big fancy cars or whatever else. So even the basic diagnostic data is still used and supplemented, but you can send optional additional data, which of course is turned on by default. You'd have to go in and turn it all off. And then with that turned off, now even that basic though contains a ton of information that I just don't want to send to Microsoft. What if I say, no, I want this to be my operating system. I bought the computer, or I assembled the computer. I paid you for a license. No, I want to do this. Now, of course, Windows 11, is it going without paying for licenses now? I don't know. I have no idea. And I am proud to be ignorant as to what it takes to set up a Windows 11 computer these days. Call me crazy, but that's that. Okay, and of course, there's app permissions. We talked about that already. And then, of course, hey, if you want to be extra sure, install this third-party tool. Because, yeah, that's what we need to do, is we need to install third-party tools to make sure my operating system is not spying on me. Well, that's exciting. Here's another step, 10 settings you should change to protect your privacy from B-bomb. So basically how to protect your privacy on Windows 11. This is 2022 edition. Of course, they're walking us through similar things. They mention it here, the online speech recognition. These are all those things that listen to your voice can map out the way you talk. Isn't that glorious? Yes, let's train our AI to end the world. But I learned it from watching you. Remember those old 80s commercials? I learned it from watching you. Yeah, the AI is going to take us over learning from watching us if we have our online speech recognition enabled. Isn't that great? Disable sending of diagnostic data. Of course, we talked about that already. Activity history. This is one this article covers. So you'll see how much stuff there's like, people are like, I don't even know how to do this. You think switching to Linux is problematic? Try figuring out the settings and privacy settings inside of Windows 11. Kind of crazy, isn't it? So we talked about locations. We talked about application. Oh, this is a new one. I didn't know that Windows 11 has a DNS over HTTPS option, which you should not use this. DNS over HTTPS restricts you from being able to fine tune by your network or use any type of ad blocking or anything like a pie hole. We did a video about pie hole. Anything that sits above the operating system that you're using to manage ads or block nasty sites. Literally, if you put the best you're a family man, right? You're a family man, and you do not want your children to accidentally stumble upon pornography on the internet. So you put in the best ad blocking systems that you can on the whole network level. It's amazing. Well, if your kid comes in here and says, well, let me just go ahead and turn this button on, DNS over HTTPS, it bypasses all that crap. This is why DNS over HTTPS is a very dangerous thing. So, and I've done a lot of videos for why this is so problematic. But you do have the option. You can set your preferred DNS. That's pretty cool. You can enable or disable this. I do not see encrypted DNS or DNS over HTTPS. I do not see this as nearly as security conscious as many people want. I think this is one of those PSYOP things that's being passed to us all like, oh, you got to enable this. This makes everything all secure. No, what it does is gives you an exact backdoor into the exact network that someone else wants you to use. When IoT devices start putting in DNS over HTTPS, you have no idea or methodology of tracking what is going on between those two encrypted connections. And this fights against the consumer. You should never use this. I have a strong advocate against it. Of course, this article also mentions the local account. Now, Microsoft started forcing the online-only accounts with Windows 11. It is possible to get around it by starting to set the computer, pulling out the network connection, bypassing it, but then they're like, you're seriously limited until you do this. And then eventually they'll force you to create the Windows Online account. And then when they do this, then basically everything you're doing is being stored over on Windows. So it becomes more difficult to use the offline account, and they're trying to get everybody to do that. Of course, they're also trying to tie in the Microsoft Cloud data as well. And so you can actually get in there and make a lot of those changes. And then, of course, hey, look, another third-party tool we're being toed. Shut up 10++. Yes, lets you disable all sorts of telemetry and background app access. So once again, we need a third-party tool to prevent my operating system from spying on you. No, thank you. I really do not want my operating system to be spying on me. Now, if the advertising isn't enough, or if the privacy options are not enough for you, what about the ads? Microsoft is starting to cram ads in the four corners of your operating system. So Microsoft experiments with ads in the Windows 11 Start menu. I actually had to play around with somebody's Windows 11 computer for the first time a few weeks ago, helping somebody out with some technology stuff. we installed Zoom. I couldn't find it. I go in here and I type in search for Zoom. I'm still getting push ads online. All this. Like, dude, I'm trying to find Zoom that I just installed for this guy. Okay. And it took me a while to find it because the ads were everywhere. Like, you pull up the start menu and you're no longer, it's about start. It's pull up the start menu to see what they want you to buy today. Holy hell. Of course, this was a neat tweet we covered in the weekly news roundup. Pull up your user menu. Do you want to sign out? Do you want to lock? Do you want to change your account settings? Or would you like to back up your files to the cloud? Here's our advertisement for OneDrive or SkyDrive. What's it called these days? I don't know. I don't care. Don't use it. So, of course, we have an entire guides now about how to remove ads in Windows. And that, by the way, is just a couple things. This covers all the places you'll find ads. Look at this. We have a table of contents, okay, for how to remove ads. And I'm sure if you pull up 4 or 5 of these different documents, you might actually find a situation where you're not, all right? So Windows 11 ads are everywhere. Ads appear as suggestions and tips on the lock screen, programs you've never used before pinned to the start menu, as service promotions in the file explorer, and contents. Like, I remember using Windows, I think it was Windows 10 at one point in time for something short, testing something for somebody, and getting all these notifications. Like, a notification pops. I don't like notifications at the best of times. When a notification pop-ups, use SkyDrive. F you. No. Why are you sending me useless? You're literally sending me ads while I'm sitting on your operating system trying to work. Why? So here's how to remove ads from the lock screen. Click the Windows icon and select settings from the pinned applications in the start menu. So in order to remove the ads, you have to completely unpin the application from the start menu. So if I want to use the start menu as, a favorites on my start menu to say these are the applications I use on a regular basis, I apparently can't do that because pinning an application to quickly find it on the start menu results in it showing you ads. Am I reading this right? Pardon my ignorance. I must be a good Linux user these days. I do not understand. Is that what they're saying? You Windows users, let me know in the comments down below. Do I have that right? Merely pinning an application to the start menu of Windows so that I can find it quickly results in me getting an ad from that. So if I have Microsoft Office pinned to it, they might try and upsell me the latest and greatest. They might be like, hey, we noticed you're not using SkyDrive. The only way to get rid of that crap is to remove the things from the start menu. Do I have that right? Because I consulted 2 different guides. They both said the same thing, and that's kind of what makes me think, maybe something like that is definitely going on. All right, select personalization from the sidebar and the lock screen from personalization options. So now we got to go into the settings, personalization, lock screen. In the lock screen settings, the default is a slideshow. So if I want a slideshow, okay. But there's this little option here, get fun facts, tips, tricks, and more. That and more is ads. Yeah. Turn off the and more. Turn off the ads. How about unpin this button to get rid of the stupid advertisements, because that's the last thing, I had to go off. I went over, I got my amazing cup of coffee from my Switch to Linux mug you can find on shop.switchetolinux.com. And in so doing, I come back and I wiggle my mouse and I see a little picture of a castle there and a giant ad to try OneDrive. Great. How wonderful. Here's how to remove them from the start menu. Oh, this is the one I was talking about earlier. You pull up the start menu and you have to uninstall the app from being pinned on your start menu. Okay. Great. So I basically can't have a shortcut key on my start menu. All right. On the confirmation dialog box, select uninstall, confirm to remove the ad. Am I removing the app or I'm completely confused. Pardon my ignorance, whatever else. But now we get ads in the File Explorer. Just opening up the File Explorer to find something in the File Explorer. Like, I'm going to look at my slideshows, I'm going to look at whatever else. Hey, have you tried OneDrive yet? No! I haven't tried OneDrive yet, and I'm about to throw my computer out the window. Good thing you're not calling it SkyDrive anymore, because I'm going to throw the computer through the sky. But yeah, click on the Windows icon, select File Explorer from the pinned applications. Of course, you got to remove it from the pinned applications if you don't want to give you ads. Click on the three dots in the top right corner from the context menu. Go down to Options. Under View tab, select Show Sync Provider Notification. So, see, they're not even calling it ads. They're calling it Sync Provider Notifications. Well, what the hell is that? I think it's an ad. Okay. So literally like the folder options. And then if you're reading through, you're like, hey, I don't see anything about ads. No. It's not called ads. It's sync provider notifications. Sounds great. Where's George Carlin when you need him? All right. How to disable device usage settings. Here's, let's see, Windows icon settings. Okay, navigate to device usage. I think, are these ads? Oh, yeah. Toggle off the switches to turn off according to the ways to get personalized ads, tips, and recommendations. All right. Personalization, devices. Notice once again, if you're just browsing through the settings here in Windows, they're not saying, hey, this is where all the ads are. They're saying it's device usage. I need to go to personalization, device usage, and then in device usage, select all the ways you plan on using your device to get personalized ads and recommendations with Microsoft Experience. I'm going to pull up my Xbox. Hey, want to use OneDrive? No! For the hell, last time. How to disable notification ads on Windows 11. All right, notification ads now. We got the notification ads. They're in the Start menu. They're in the File Explorer. Holy hell. So you click on the Windows, select Settings from the pinned application if it's still there because it was pushing you ads and you went and installed it. Select System from the sidebar, Notifications down here, Notifications, and then show me Windows Welcome Experience updates. I'm going to experience a hammer through my computer. Thank you. Offer suggestions on how I can set up my device. Get tips and suggestions. No. Get ads, Microsoft. Okay, how to disable suggested content in settings. What the hell is that? I don't even know what we're at anymore. But there's so many stinking ads being pushed everywhere. We got all these different places. Okay, how to stop apps from showing ads. Okay, here's how to do apps showing ads. This is let apps show me personalized ads. So, yeah. How to disable ads and diagnostic data. Excuse me, I'm going to go off myself in the corner somewhere. How do you people use this crap? I'm sorry. You guys are like, the gaming just isn't there on Linux yet. You're going to go through this crap to play a video game? You need to get your priorities in line, my friend. Wowzers. All right. Click on the Windows icons and settings for the pinned applications. Open diagnostics and feedback. Okay. Turn off diagnostic data collection. I thought that was, I don't even know what we're doing. Is that ads? I don't know. I don't even know anymore. How to completely remove ads from Windows 10 and make it completely ad-free. All right, let's see. That's another guide. This is a Windows 10 guide. I'm sorry. We just went through Windows 11. So here's all these kinds of things. I wonder if there's going to be, there's some stuff on 10. You can find the article, I guess. I was seeing if they were giving us like, some third-party tools. But you know what, guys? With all this kind of stuff, I have a better way to prevent all this tracking and all of this ads and all this nonsense from your operating system. It's called Switch to Linux. Okay, now there are a plethora of Linux distributions. For the typical person coming to Linux, you've gone the end. You're like, if I see one more ad, I'm going to destroy my entire computer. But I can't exactly do that in this modern day and age. I need this stupid devil machine. So what am I going to do? I recommend Linux Mint. Now, there are many other. I use Endeavor OS. I use MX Linux. I use several different Linux distributions. There's so many amazing good distributions. And when you get boiled down to it, Linux distributions, some of them are a little bit more open source. Some are a little bit less open source. I think Linux Mint strikes a really good balance. They do not like data tracking, things like that. But they do have enough proprietary stuff to make sure that nearly every computer is going to be supported. So you can go on over to the download button here, and you'll have a couple of different options. We have the Cinnamon Edition, which is the one I generally would use and recommend. Very modern, Windows-esque system. Well, at least before they adulterated it through Windows 11. We have Mate, more of an older XFCE. We also, though, have LMDE. So this is a much more open source version, which right now is working almost exactly the same. My next build of Linux Mint, next time I have to, do a new hard drive, reinstall my operating system, or build a new system, I'm going to do LMDE 5 instead of the traditional one. Either one of them are really good to use. And then you're going to get a good operating system that's not full of ads, just to kind of show you that. As I'm recording this video, this is my desktop right now. So this is that window you're seeing there. Of course, I have two monitors over here, and the other one is what's monitoring my my software for doing the video. See, here's my software for doing the video. Look at that. With that, though, I mean, look at this. I can go into my menu here. I can attach my favorite applications that I use all the time right over here, and nobody's giving me ads about it. I can easily get into my start menu. I mean, I could be like, I need to write oh, look at that. There's my writing application. Let's look at that. I can find all the applications I need, and I'm not getting any ads. The system gives me only the notifications that I need, and really no other notifications at all. I mean, really, here's what I get, but all I'm going to get is a notification just for things that are supposed to notify. They're not going to be like, hey, by the way, try out our new OneDrive. No, it's not going to do that. So the reality is, switching to Linux has never been easier. And right now, with everybody being forced out of 10 into 11, your 7 is out of support, your 8 is out of support, your 10 is moving out of support in a couple years. They're forcing us onto 11, which has so many ads, so much data collection, so many issues. This is a good time for you to start looking at Linux. Like I said, just go to linuxmint.com. Grab Linux Mint, start exploring it, just experiment around. Take a look at this channel. We have a lot of distro reviews just to kind of give you some ideas of what you might be looking at. Look at some of those things and understand that switching to Linux has never been a better time. And if you want to regain full control of your operating system, and I just showed you one system, there are so many ways to customize your desktop. You can build your computer exactly what you need. It is a really good time to try it out. So don't be forced into Windows 11 because I guess I got to win Windows 11 now. No, don't do that. Don't give in. Switch to Linux. This is your time, and hopefully on this channel here, we can give you a hand with doing that. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. And again, I did mention my shop earlier, shop.switchedtolinux.com. This coffee cup, by the way, is amazing. This is the new model that they have up there. Keeps coffee hot for hours. Way better than the old one I had. And then, of course, we have a lot of other ways you can help support the channel. All the details are over at switchedtolinux.com. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.